Shalom Aleichem, friends. My name is Gil Student. I was invited to speak here to give a brief Dvar Torah for the upcoming Yomim Noraim of Tafshin Pei Gimel. Thank Rabbi Mendy Mirachnik, Rabbi Yehuda Blank, Rabbi Moshe Shmerla, who organized this and invited me. I speak Birshosam, Birshos, the Presidium, Rabbi Klaas, Rabbi Hecht, Rabbi Elbaz, Rabbi Shulman, and Birshos, all the RaBbanim, de B'chol Asar V'Asar. I'd like to discuss an inyan regarding to the mitzvahs Bein Adam LeChaveiro we can learn from the Akedas Yitzchak. The very end of the Akedah says in Bereshis Chav Beis Yud Gimel, Vaysa Avram es Einov, Vayar v'nei Ayil Achar Nechaz Basvach. Avram lifted up his eyes and he saw there was another ram, Ayil Achar. What does this mean? What is this Ayil Achar? The Kli Yakar says Achar here means Acher, another ram, but compared to what? So it says compared to the Ayil that Adam HaRishon brought as a korban. Says the Kli Yakar, when Adam HaRishon brought a korban, it was a ram with only one horn, the Gemara says. Avram brought a different ayil, it was an ayil achar, it had two horns. What does this signify? Says the Kli Yakar, Adam HaRishon, he was the only person in the world. So what he did in Avera, it was only a Bein Adam Lamakom, so there was this one horn that's pointing up to Shemaim to be mechaper, to give a kapara on his Bein Adam Lamakom. That was only Adam HaRishon. Every other human being afterwards, there's more people in the world. Every Bein Adam Lamakom is also a Bein Adam LeChaveiro. So you need two horns, one for the Bein Adam Lamakom and one from the Bein Adam LeChaveiro. Why is every Bein Adam Lamakom also Bein Adam LeChaveiro? Says the Kli Yakar, because other people could see you do this Avera and that could influence them. And that could lead to them to do an Avera, the smack. When discussing the mitzvah to be done Adam L'chav Zechus, he says it's because he has an original interpretation, original explanation of this mitzvah. It's because if we think other people are doing Averos, so you know what, we'll say everybody does it. Or we'll say, at least I'm better than them, and we'll do Averos also. But if you think everybody's a tzaddik, so even if you're wrong, even if you're misguided and you're delusional, if you think everybody's a tzaddik, so you're also going to be a tzaddik. How can you not do it? How can you do an Avera? Nobody else is doing it. So too, if you do an Avera Bein Adam Lamakom and people see it, they'll be influenced one way or another. It will bring down the general religious atmosphere in the community. And even if you do it b'chedrei chadarim, nobody knows about it, still, because of Arvus, everybody will get punished in some way or another. Everyone in the community will be punished for your Avera. And therefore, because you're causing spiritual harm, you're causing an onish to come on people, so that's also a Bein Adam LeChaveiro. Therefore, says the Kli Yakar, every Bein Adam Lamakom is also a Bein Adam LeChaveiro. The Pri Megadim has a small booklet of his drashas called Schar and Shel Mitzvos, and in Drush Hey, he quotes a Maharik who disagrees. The Maharik in Shorish Kuf Chaf Tes discusses someone who's over in Isra Arayis. There are two ways to do that, either Mefata or Me'anis. If someone is Me'anis, a woman, so that is certainly a Bein Adam Lamakom and also a Bein Adam LeChaveiro. A man who forces himself on someone else, that's an Isser, certainly an Isser Bein Adam LeChaveiro as well as a Bein Adam Lamakom. However, if it's Mefata, if it's consensual, says Amarik, that's only a Bein Adam Lamakom and not a Bein Adam LeChaveiro. So says the Pri Megadim, the Kli Yakar would say, no, they're both Bein Adam Lamakom and Bein Adam LeChaveiro. Even if it's Mefata, even if it's consensual, that still affects everybody else, whether from an onish or just reducing the inhibition to sin. So the Maharik would disagree and would say that sometimes you can have a Bein Adam Lamakom that's not a Bein Adam LeChaveiro. So Lamai Nafkamina, what does it matter whether Bein Adam Lamakom is also Bein Adam LeChaveiro? So for this, the Nafkamina is a Mishnah in Yoma Pehei Amud Beis, which it says that Yom Kippurim is not mechaper on Averos Bein Adam LeChaveiro ad shirat es Chavero. You have to ask for forgiveness. You have to calm him down and make him feel better about it, so he's not angry at you anymore and he forgives you. If a Bein Adam Lamakom is also Bein Adam LeChaveiro, then someone who is over this Bein Adam Lamakom has to go to the Tzibur and ask for forgiveness. He has to be meratz to the Tzibur because his Bein Adam Lamakom, even if it was b'chedrei chadarim, also affects everybody else. He has to ask for their forgiveness. If it's not, so then he doesn't have to ask for forgiveness. It's between him and Hashem. He doesn't need to ask forgiveness for anybody. What's unusual, what's a little strange, is that the Gemara in Yoma Peivav Amud Beis talks about Ashrei Nisui Pesha that an avera should be hidden. There's another pasuk that it shouldn't be hidden, that it should be publicized. So it says the Gemara, well, if it's Bein Adam LeChaveiro, it should be publicized. If it's Bein Adam LeMakom, it should be hidden. But like the Kli Yakar, any Bein Adam LeMakom, you have to publicize it, because you have to ask forgiveness from everybody. Okay, this Indian of Mechilah brings up another question, is that's why. Why do you have to ask for Mechilah on this Bein Adam LeChaveiro? So there are two possible reasons. The Mefarshim discuss. Either it could be as the chote, because of the chote, or it could because of the necheta, the ne'elav, the person offended. It could be someone who's offended, the ne'elav, the necheta. So he has to forgive you. You have to calm him down. Min hashamayim, they see kol sheruach habrios nocha meno. So then ruach hamakom nocha meno. So if someone is angry at you for doing an avera to them, for offending them, so then min hashamayim, they might not, you risk not being forgiven min hashamayim. So therefore you have to ask for forgiveness, and once you have forgiveness, then min hashamayim, that you could get kapara. That's if it's mitzad hanechta, hane'elav. But if it's mitzad hachote, it's because part of your tshuva from doing this iser ben adam LeChaveiro is you have to be machnia yourself. You have to humble yourself. The busha is mechaper. You need to embarrass yourself and humble yourself before the person you offended, and that will serve to be part of the kapara. So what's the nafkamina between this? So the Ein Yaakov, the Hakosef, Perish Hakosef by Rabbi Yaakov ibn Chabib, who compiled the Ein Yaakov. So on the Yerushalmi of Yoma, at the end of the Yerushalmi of Yoma, so the Hakosef discusses this question of whether you can send a shaliach to ask for forgiveness. And the Hakosef is very much against it. He says you can't do that. You have to ask for forgiveness yourself. You can't send someone else to do your dirty work. So if it's mitzad, the nechta, the ne'elav, so who cares? As long as he is asked for forgiveness and he says, you know what, I do forgive you, so who cares? Min hashamayim, they see. So who cares how you got it, whether you sent a shaliach or you did it yourself. So, but if you say it's because the chote has to machni himself, he has to humble himself and be mevayish himself, so then it doesn't work through a shaliach. You don't have that step. You skip the step. You skip the most important part, and you just send the shaliach to do the dirty work. So according to it says Rabbi Yaakov ibn Chabib, it doesn't work if you send a shaliach to ask for Mechilah. However, right on there, the Yefei Mara, the Reb Shmuel Ashkenazi Yafa, so he disagrees. And he brings a raya from the Avos de Rabbi Nosson about Aaron HaKohen. What was Aaron HaKohen? What did he do? Aaron HaKohen was Ohev Shalom v'Rodiv Shalom. If two people in a machane were fighting, Aaron would go up to one and say, you know what, this other guy wants you to forgive him. And he'd go to the other guy and say, no, this guy wants you to forgive him. And the two people would come together and there'd be Shalom. So ask the Yefei Mara. So Aaron did their dirty work. Nobody was machnia himself. Nobody was mevayish himself. Ella, what? You see, you don't need to. The ikr is the result, the todzah, that the nechta, the ne'elav, should forgive you. It doesn't matter how you got there. Another question, a similar question, I haven't seen anybody address except for Rav Yosef, is can you ask for forgiveness through a letter? Sometimes some people are not so good with words. They need to sit down and think it out and write it down, and then they'll send it. And you know what? That letter will do better than if you just go in person. So can you ask for Mechilah in a letter? So Rav Yosef in Yechavedas Chelek Hey Simin Mem Daled, he discusses a little bit, and in his drashos on the Yomim Noraim Beis Hayayin on the Yomim Noraim on page 419, he discusses it a bit more at length. And he says it's totally on that same chakira. If it's because of the reason to ask for Mechilah is because of the necheta, the ne'elav, the person offended, so then it should work. If the letter calms him down and makes him happy and he forgives you, so it works. But if it's because of the chote, that you have to be machni yourself and mevayish yourself and humble yourself, so then it wouldn't work. A letter wouldn't work. So another nafkamina is, let's say somebody is offended, but there's a miscommunication. You didn't actually say what he thinks you said. You didn't do what he thinks you did. He's offended, but you didn't do anything wrong. So do you have to go ask Mechilah from somebody who is offended, but mistakenly? There's a Sfas Emes in his Perashan Yoma, so he says you do have to. But l'chora is totally in this chakira that we made. If it's because of the necheta or the ne'elav, so until you ask for Mechilah, he's offended. And Min HaShamayim, they see it's not Ruach HaBrios Nocha Himenu. That he's offended, and you have to make sure that he is taken care of and he's not offended by you. You have to go ask for Mechilah. But if it's part of the chote, it's because you have to humble yourself and embarrass yourself and ask for Mechilah. So then, why? You didn't do anything wrong. So if it's Medina chote, so then you shouldn't have to. Another nafkamina comes up with a story that when the Chofetz Chaim finished his sefer, so he took it to Rabbi Yisrael Salant and asked for a haskama. So Rabbi Yisrael Salant was so meticulous, he read through the entire sefer very carefully, and he came back, he said, I agree with everything in it, except for what's in Hilchos Lashon Hara, Klal Daled, Sif Yud Beis, in which the Chofetz Chaim says that if you said Lashon Hara about somebody and he doesn't know it, you still have to go ask him for Mechilah. Says Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, he doesn't know about it. He's not offended. If you go to him, you will offend him. So why does your chiyuv of tshuva override the Isser of Lashon Hara and causing offense? Rather, says Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, I can't write a haskama for the sefer because that's wrong. And Rabbi Chofetz Chaim replied, what do you mean? It's not me. It's Rabbeinu Yonah and Sharei Tshuva. I didn't make it up. Rabbi Yisrael Salanter said, no, it must mean something else, the Rabbeinu Yonah. So the Chofetz Chaim did not change it. Rabbi Yisrael Salanter did not give a haskama, and l'chora it's talui in our chakira that we said above. If Mechilah is midin the chote, so you are a chote. You say lashon hara. He doesn't know about it. It doesn't matter. You need to humble yourself, and you can't do complete tshuva shlema until you're machni yourself and ask for Mechilah. But if it's mitzad ha'nechta ha'nelav, so he doesn't know about it. He's not offended. So ruach habrias nocha himenu. So it's not a problem. So the quote from Rabbi Itzela Blazer, Rabbi Itzela Petterberger, that he wanted to bring a raya that asking for Mechilah is a din and achote, that you have to humble yourself from the stories on Yoma, Pei, Vav, Amud Beis, and Pei Zayin, Amud Aleph, that various Amoraim, Reb Zera, Rava, Rav, would go Erev Yom Kippur and make themselves present so someone who offended them can ask for Mechilah. Says Rabbi Itzela, why don't they just give Mechilah? Why do they have to go through this whole charade in which they're just standing there waiting for someone to ask for Mechilah? Just say, I'm mochel you. They don't know. He doesn't even have to know about it. Ruach habrios nochamen, I'm mochel you. No problem. Min hashamayim, they'll see. And this person who offended them should get kapara. Says Rabbi Itzela, it must be that the person who is midin hachote, the person who offended them has to be machni himself, has to be mevayish himself, and personally has to ask for Mechilah. He brings the raya from there. However, I'm not so sure because the Moshe ibn Chabib in the Tosefes Yom HaKippurim on that Gemara, he suggests, he asks the same question: why didn't they just forgive him, forgive whoever offended them? And he says, no, it must be that the Amoraim, when someone offends you, when someone insults you, there's usually a back and forth, a give and take. So these Amoraim were holy people; they didn't say anything bad, but how did they react? What was their facial reaction? Maybe they said something which could have been interpreted as offending this other person, and they weren't sure who needed to ask Mechilah from whom, so they went to Erev Yom Kippur to ask Mechilah themselves, just because that's who they were. They were so holy. They were Tzadikei Elyon. They were worried about even a tiny, tiny bit of offense, so they went there Erev Yom Kippur to ask for Mechilah from that person, and the person should ask Mechilah back. If so, then there's no raya to the tzad that is the Rabbi Itzela Blazer's raya that is mitzad achote. Okay, so going back to our original discussion. So we had, on the one hand, the Kli Yakar says every Bein Adam Lamakom is also Bein Adam LeChaveiro, and the Maharig says no, you can have a Bein Adam Lamakom that's not Bein Adam LeChaveiro. So the Pri Megadim in that drasha that we're discussing, it's Charon Shal Mitzvah's drashay. So he wants to be meyasher them and said it's not a stira. Rather, the Kli Yakar is talking midinei shamayim. Midinei shamayim, any kind of offense, even if it's a spiritual offense, even if it's just causing him an onesh, so anything like that, midinei shamayim, that is considered ben adam l'chavera. But midinei adam is only a ben adam l'chavero if you harm somebody in their body, in their property, or in their honor. Anything else you're not chayiv. It's indirect. So indirect that midinei adam you're not chayiv, and therefore you don't have to ask for Mechilah. And the Chofetz Chaim paskins like that in the same sif that we talked about before, although a different prat in Hilchos Lashon Hara, Klal Daled sif Yud Beis. The Chofetz Chaim says if you say Lashon Hara and everybody rejects it, they say nah, that can't be. So you said Lashon Hara, but nobody accepted it. So you didn't actually cause any harm. So says the Chofetz Chaim, you didn't cause harm to his body or his property or his honor. Therefore, it's only a Bein Adam L'Makom. You have to do tshuva on that, but it's not a Bein Adam L'Chavera. You don't have to ask for forgiveness. So Rav Yitzchak Hudner in the Pachad Yitzchak in the Sefer Zikaron on page 335, Shin Lamed Hey. So he quotes his Chofetz Chaim and he disagrees. B'Mechilas Kavodo, Rav Hudner disagrees and says that the fact that you said Lashon Hara about someone else, that itself decreases the Avas Yisrael towards him. And you did harm him. You harmed him because that person does not have as much Avas Yisrael in the world towards him. So therefore, since you said Lashon Hara about him, and you decrease the Avas Yisrael towards him, even if nobody accepted it, that's still a Bein Adam LeChaveiro, and he brings a raya, because in Hilchas Tshuva, in Perik Beis, Halacha Tes, the Rambam says that a Makalel is also Bein Adam LeChaveiro, and you have to ask for Mechilah for that. How is Makalel a Bein Adam LeChaveiro? If you want to say it's because when you're Makalel someone, so you insult him, so then say you're Mevaza him. Why say Makalel? So Makalel must mean even taking aside any issue of bizayon, the very fact that you said a klola about him, you created this curse in the world against him, you reduced the Avas Yisrael against him. And therefore, so too, if you say Lashon Hara, and it's rejected because you reduced the Avas Yisrael against this person, that also constitutes a Bein Adam LeChaveiro, and you have to ask Mechilah for that. So as we reach this time of Yom Hadin, and time of Tshuva, in which you ask for Mechilah from everybody, we should keep in mind that it's not only about Tshuva, it's not only about Bein Adam L'Makom. Everybody needs to keep in mind it's also about decreasing Avas Yisrael. And through the Zechus of Avas Yisrael, we should be Zoche to a Ksiva of a Chasim Matara and be as Goal Mashiach B'mehera V'yameinu.